Whether you're Republican, a Democrat, it doesn't matter. We're going to look into this issue of Biden's auto pen. Did he use an auto pen? What does it mean? What are the implications? What's the legality of it? Let's look into it. So the White House is reviewing Biden's use of an auto pen as part of broader investigations. Recently, President Biden had an interview with the New York Times about the auto pen, and he said that he did use the auto pen for some documents, but that he was allowed to use it. Here's President Trump responding to questions about Biden's interview.
President Biden, of all people, spoke to the New York Times over the weekend. He did not speak to them on the record during his time in office at all, but he spoke to them recently. And he defended his use of the auto pen and said that he signed off on every decision. But at the same time, the Times reports that he did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that applied to large numbers of people. What are your take on that? Any new revelations from that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the auto pen. Look, the auto pen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, you know, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them.
All right, and there's a little story about the Resolute desk. I always think it's funny whenever Trump's got an issue like this. It's usually this is the biggest controversy in 150 to 200 years. Let's look into it. Is it true? Is it not true? So, according to The Hill, Biden hits back at Trump, GOP over auto pen criticism. Quote, "They're liars." Former President Biden sounded off at President Trump and Republicans in Congress over their claims that aides acted without Biden's knowledge in granting presidential pardons and clemency with the use of an auto pen. So a lot of the claims have been that Biden granted a number of pardons to Fauci, to his family members, and to Mark Milley. He granted these pardons, but he did it with an auto pen and through his aides. And the Constitution says that the president is supposed to sign off on these pardons, and so they're saying, therefore, these pardons don't count because an auto pen was used. Biden says they're liars. They know it, Biden told the New York Times in an interview published Sunday, and asked about claims he was incapacitated near the end of his presidency and unaware of decisions being made on his behalf. I made every single one of those decisions about clemency, he added. During his final days in the White House, Biden issued a bunch preventing orders preventing hundreds of people in home confinement since COVID, reducing sentences of hundreds of nonviolent drug offenders, and turning death sentences to life without parole for 37 of 40 inmates on death row. And then it goes on talking about all the pardons that he made towards his family, towards Fauci. Biden told the Times he used an auto pen to sign the warrants because there were a lot of them. The auto pen is, legal. And other presidents used it, including Trump. But the point is that, we're talking about a whole lot of people, he said. So they put out a ton of pardons on the inauguration day. The former president accused Republicans of stirring up the auto pen controversy as a distraction. They lied so consistently about almost everything they're doing. The best they can do is try to change the focus and focus on something else. And I think that's what this is about, he said. But the Department of Justice and GOP-controlled House Oversight Committee have open investigations into Biden's use of the auto pen and what they allege was a coordinated cover-up of his mental decline by aides and administration officials. Biden's White House doctor, Kevin O'Connor, declined to answer questions during a deposition with the oversight panel last week, citing physician-patient privilege and constitutional rights against self-incrimination. And then James Comer in the House is the one kind of leading this charge against Biden's former team. All right, so Biden says, hey, I did use an auto pen, but it was legal to use the auto pen, and it was because there were so many names out there. According to Fox News, White House is investigating Biden's use of an auto pen and sprawling probe of incompetent and senile former president. All right, so the White House is investigating former President Joe Biden's use of the auto pen. According to the National Archives and Records Administration, they said that the investigation is focused on communications related to Biden's use of the auto pen. A senior administration told Fox News that they are not ready to discuss any discoveries, but they have provided more than 27,000 records to the White House. So they're reviewing tens of thousands of records that they believe may have been AUTOPEN and whether they are still legal. This is quotes, according to Caroline Leavitt, Joe Biden was the worst, most incompetent and senile president in our history. It has been widely reported that Joe Biden handed the power of the presidency to an AUTOPEN controlled by the unelected leftist staffers who were allowed to make terrible decisions that destroyed our country. Whatever you think about this, so the right is claiming, hey, he used the AUTOPEN, nothing counts anymore. Anything that he used the AUTOPEN, it doesn't count. What is interesting is that here recently that Comer there's been a lot of articles coming out that Comer actually uses AUTOPENs for letters and different things. I don't know if he actually uses it for legislation purposes, but we will see if other presidents do that. Trump doubles down on AUTOPEN claims as Biden blasts president supporters as liars, according to ABC. Former President Joe Biden, in an interview with the New York Times, said that he personally made every clemency and pardon decision during the last few weeks of his presidency, including those made with an AUTOPEN. Yeah, so he just continues to claim, hey, I made those decisions. I did this. Even with the AUTOPEN, it was all me. All right, but has an AUTOPEN been used before from a president? And what's the legality? I asked our good friend over with the AI, what is an AUTOPEN? AUTOPEN's a machine that mechanically produces a person's signature. Legality. So the Department of Justice DOJ opinion in 2005 issued a legal opinion stating that a president may use an AUTOPEN to sign legislation. According to this, President Obama used an AUTOPEN to sign a bill into law. He was in Europe. They needed to sign a bill over in the States, so he used an AUTOPEN and he gave it permission. The Constitution, according to Article 1, Section 7, requires that a president needs to sign a bill, but it does not specify how it needs to be signed. The DOJ interpreted sign to include an AUTOPEN if the president authorized and intends it. So they're claiming, hey, let's say in President Biden's case, if he made an intention and told his aides, I am intending to sign this, so I want you to use this AUTOPEN to sign this, then according to this opinion, it would count. Some members of Congress, including those during President Obama's administration, question the constitutionality of using an AUTOPEN. Critics argue it could set a slippery precedent if not tightly controlled or clearly authorized by the president. So according to this, they think that you can use an AUTOPEN under certain requirements of intending to actually sign the bill. You can't just have an AUTOPEN and sign whatever it wants without the president's intention of signing it. We'll see what happens. I'm not really sure how you're going to prove this one way or another, whether President Biden intended to sign with the AUTOPEN or not. It will be interesting. If you'd like to see more news like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and comment your opinion below. See you next time.